Hi there, welcome to Goblin Makes, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a short petticoat. Now this petticoat has a drawstring to make it easy for multiple people to use, and it has slits in the side for a pocket belt, which I'm going to show you how to make later on. So there's going to be a couple things you need to make this. First thing is you're going to need a sewing machine. This is my Bernina 930 Record. I got it from the thrift store for 20 bucks, so that was a pretty big deal. So keep your eye out at thrift stores for machines. You're also going to need some fabric. This is matte tulle. It's about, I think it's $1.75 a yard. This is about 9 yards right here. You're going to need at least that much, especially if your waist is similar to mine. You're going to need ribbon if you want to line the bottom. Please make sure that your colors are the same. That ribbon's not the same color. Elastic if you want to make an elastic waistband. I didn't actually wind up using this, so do with it what you will. And then you need scissors and assorted sewing materials. So for this, you're going to need to do a little bit of math. So my waist is 35.5 inches, so I just rounded that up to 36 inches to make an even yard. And you're going to want to do, for your top section, you're going to do your waist measurement times 2. For your middle sections, your top section measurement times 3. And then your bottom section is going to be your middle section measurement times 3 to get your length that you need. And everything's going to be 6-inch strips, so I just put a little 6-inch right there. So my fabric itself is 54 inches in width, so I divided that by 6, and so I would be able to get 9 strips per the fabric width. So I did a little bit of other math, breaking things down, and so my top section, I'm going to need 2 strips of 1 yard by 6 inches per layer for each layer of the skirt. And for the middle section, I'm going to need 6 sections or 6 pieces of 1 yard by 6 inches strips. And bottom, I'm going to need 9 by 2 yards by 6 inches strips per layer. And then there's a little drawing kind of showing you how things will look eventually. So for me, I wanted to iron my fabrics out. I didn't like that it had wrinkles in it, but my fabric has been folded up for a minute. So if yours isn't, then don't worry about this step. So to actually measure out my strips of 6 inches, what I would do is I would lay my ruler out. And then I would put pins where the 6-inch mark was. I found this was significantly easier than trying to do it with a marking chalk or anything like that, just because this fabric is really slippery. And so if I had it pinned while I was cutting it, then I think it was less likely to shift around and move around when I needed to go and cut it. And then I just took my fabric scissors and I followed the line that was made by the pin heads. And then I would just remove it and then kind of fold the fabric on top to give me a line where there wasn't areas where there were pins on it. Then I just went through and continued and cut my whole strip out. Now, you see this? You see this right here? Where I laid the one strip on top of the rest of the fabric and started cutting. Yeah, don't do this. This caused me to have pieces of fabric that were 6 inches, some were 5 inches, some were 7 inches. So just save yourself the trouble and measure out every single strip that you do. It's not that hard. So once you have everything cut out, you're going to want to stack it all together. And you're going to want to pin a label to it because honestly, all of these look the same. And once you've counted everything out, you really want to make sure that you keep everything organized so you don't get lost when you get all the way through. And this is my lovely stacks of top, middle, and bottom sections in all 3 of my colors. You don't have to use 3 colors. I just wanted to use 3 colors because it really fits what I'm doing. So now what you're going to want to do is you're going to start with your bottom section and you're going to want to sew all of your strips together along the short edge. Now you want to be really careful to make sure that you don't sew them one right sides and one wrong sides together. You want to make sure that you sew everything right sides together so you don't twist your loop and have to rip a whole bunch of seams. I wound up using a serger on mine. You could certainly use just a regular machine and a straight stitch, but my initial thought was that I wasn't going to be able to, or wasn't going to make a lining skirt for this, so I wanted to make sure all the seams on the inside were as comfortable as possible, but I did wind up making a lining skirt, so in the end it didn't really matter. But yeah, just a regular straight stitch will work just fine. So in the end, I found it easiest to work my skirts one at a time. So when I finished that bottom layer of the skirt, I went through and I ironed my lining ribbon. Now this is optional. You don't have to do this, but I think it makes it look very nice, very finished for minimal effort. And it also gives it a certain kind of weight that makes it super swooshy at the end. So you're just going to want to get some ribbon. I think this is an 1.5 inch ribbon. And then you're just going to fold it over and iron it. And then you're going to take it to your machine and go on the bottom edge of that bottom section of one of your petticoat skirts. And then you're just going to sew it on there. I found that it was a lot easier to keep it very taut when I was sewing it and to kind of even pull it against the edge of my machine to get a really nice crisp edge. The first one that I did was kind of wobbly, so definitely learn from my mistakes. Now, it's a good idea when you're dealing with this ribbon to just go ahead and trim down the edges and then get a lighter and sort of melt the edges to seal them in. Please don't burn yourself or the edges of your ribbon. It'll get all charred and nasty. You're just trying to melt it really gently just to make sure that it doesn't fray. So once your bottom tier is encased in ribbon, if you choose to do so, you're going to want to find some very specific equally distant points on your bottom tier and your middle tier. So basically you can gather your bottom tier into your middle tier so it's the same length. So what I'm doing here is I picked a point on the bottom tier of my skirt. I put a pin there, and then I pinned my bottom tier at that point to my ironing board. And then I kind of shuffled the fabric through my hands, doubled up so I could find the other end. And that would be the other half of the skirt. So that would be 2 sections of the skirt. And then I brought that point back to the original first point so I could find the middle of those 2 sections, and then I would have 4. And then I repeated the process to get 8 and then 16. You're going to want to repeat that for your middle tier, so you have 16 sections on both, and then you can meet up those points. So once you have all 16 of your sections, you're going to want to go to your sewing machine. You're going to want to place the middle section and the bottom section right sides together. And you're going to want to find 2 of those points, one on the middle section and one on the bottom section. And then you're going to align them together. You're going to pin them together. And you're going to gather the bottom section into the length of the middle section. Now you can use a fork pleating method if that's what you want to do. You could sew this and gather it with like a gathering basting stitch if you wanted to, and do it that way. I just found it easiest to just gather with my fingers and just sew along the length of where I needed to, and then meet a point, gather, sew, meet a point, gather, sew. Now if you're interested in continuing with what you see, please go watch part 2, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.